entrepreneurs and professionals of Tampa Bay. Welcome to your hour for getting the information, the tools, and the connections for elevating your business. Welcome to Getting the Edge with Kelly Wilson. And here's your host, Kelly Wilson.
Hi, welcome to Getting the Edge. I'm your host, Kelly Wilson. Thank you so much for joining us today. Getting the Edge is a great opportunity to highlight great leaders and business professionals in our community. We want to highlight them, of course, but it's also a great opportunity to really get to know them and learn from them. And that's really what Edge is all about, learning from each other. I do believe we can learn a lot. So Getting the Edge, we're now in our fourth year as far as a show. We initially started as on iHeartRadio, and really happy now to have a full filmed production where with cameras and where we can highlight, and I don't just have my headphones on. So really excited to be here. Really excited about our brand new issue of Edge Business Magazine that launches this week. So really excited about that. For more information, you can go to edgebusinessmagazine.com. This is our draft version. Features Malio and Carmine Ivoroni, two very iconic, legendary restaurateurs in the Tampa community. We're just really excited to share their story, and a lot of great other great leaders in our community. We have got the CEO, Santiago of Visit Tampa Bay, and a lot of other great individuals that are contributing writers. So make sure you check it out. Again, edgebusinessmagazine.com. So again, really excited to bring great people every week to share their stories, and I'm really excited about today's show. I have the amazing Dr. Susan Dellinger with us today. She is the founder of Psychogeometrics, among so many other things, which we'll get into later in the show, and has written quite a few books and has them in 9 different languages, I want to say, 46 consultants in 10 different countries. Absolutely amazing, and a personal friend of mine. Susan, welcome to the show. Yes. Thank you so much for being with us. I'm excited. Susan and I originally met years ago with the Center for Women. I've talked about the Center for Women on the show, great organization at thecenter.org. Great, founded originally in the late 70s by Helen Gordon Davis. I had the pleasure of interviewing her many years ago before her passing, a few years now.
3 or 4 years.
3 or 4 years. But what an amazing, well, I wish the show's not long enough today to really get into all of Helen's story, but I think you can highlight and share a little bit of that. You know, you were personal friends. But so the Center for Women is really where Susan and I sparked a friendship, and both being from Indiana and having that background, and I think fellow Hoosiers and Midwesterners really helped gravitate us together. So again, so happy to have you here. You are so fun to talk to. Susan is so theatrical. You're going to enjoy the show for sure. Well, tell us, so the Center, in your version, tell me about the Center for Women.
Oh, the Center for Women. It was so wonderful to meet Kelly Wilson there because here I am. I'm getting a tour of the new section for the business.
The Women's Business Center.
The Business Center, it was called. And, they have this wonderful program on construction for women, and Ann Madsen just does a fabulous job.
The new executive director. Well, not new. Ann has been with the center now. Well, okay, so 2014, the Center for Women brought me on as a consultant to design the new Women's Business Center. I stayed on for a year. I designed it, and we launched it. Stayed on helping build and guide a curriculum initially for the first year until they were able to very happily they found SBA funding, and then so I passed on the reins, I guess you say at that point, to the SBA team that took over. But that is right about the time, and let me just say, I did not realize what an amazing, I guess, just impact that experience was going to have on my life, and all the amazing women that I was going to have the opportunity of meeting, and the friendships that I was going to then make, including Susan and her husband Bob of a lifetime. How many years have
54.
you? 54. Congratulations on that. So yes, Susan and Bob have been together 54 years. An amazing story.
Hi, honey.
Again, I wish the show were even longer so we could talk about it all. The Center for Women. So yes, so you were personal friends with Helen Gordon Davis.
I was.
And you were there in the beginning days of this. Yes. Now this was back when a woman could not sign her own mortgage. In fact.
Couldn't even get a credit card.
Right, yes.
Couldn't get a bank loan
Yeah, I just
if
can't.
she was alone. As long as there was a husband to sign for her, yes. I got rejected by J.C. Penney for a credit card with them, okay, and I was married, and I was making more money than he was.
But because you were the female, you weren't able to. It's just amazing how times have evolved and changed, and I know we still have a lot of ways to go, but just we have made major strides since the 70s and that time period. So the Center for Women has amazing programs from the SHIP program, which enables funding for seniors to then stay in their homes. So they have this whole construction crew that then comes out and repairs the homes. And granted, there is a waiting list, but just it's an amazing thing that they do in order to help seniors stay in their home. And so these construction crews that are made up of many women go in then and do these repairs. And again, if you're looking for an outlet of donations or even to volunteer, check out thecenter.org because they're always looking for donations.
Every little bit helps.
Absolutely.
Oh my.
And so they have the employment program where they help people get back on their feet. It really is not just about women either. It's really family oriented.
And children, they have the
Center for Girls, which is an amazing organization as well. And really, yes, it's part of it, but almost a separate entity because they do so much and they have their own. I want to say the center is located at 305 Hyde Park Avenue.
Sounds right. That's right. Yes.
I always think of Miami every time I think of the address because I think the Miami area code is 305. I don't know where that comes, how that relation. But I always remember that somehow.
Well, here I am taking my little tour of the new business center, and we turn a corner, and here is this office with this gorgeous blonde in it, looking very professional, and she just smiles and says hello, and whoa, there was just an instant connection. And then we did our favorite thing together, not drinking, but maybe that too. We played cards. We played cards. We had an evening of cards, which we loved.
Yeah, I very much enjoy playing cards. And I tell you, Susan has, I think she's become my adopted mom. I lost mine many years ago. Not many, 3 or 4 years now. And that was her and I. We always played cards together. So I taught Susan, my family, mom and I's card game.
What was the name of it?
Spite and Malice.
Spite and Malice.
Yeah.
What a great game.
Yeah, actually, and I have found the app now. So I'm addicted.
Oh, I need to find the app. That would be very cool.
Yes.
Well, and Kelly kind of has filled in now for me with Helen. You know, Helen and I were very close friends since the founding of the Center for Women. It was called the Women's Survival Center in those days. And it was really, she developed it for women who were of a certain age and found themselves alone and had always been housewives and suddenly had to go to work. It was called the Displaced Homemaker.
Right.
And she was of course in the Senate, and she went to the legislature, Florida.
Yeah, I think one of the first female senators, right?
Yes.
To represent the area, the state.
And she went to the legislature and got the money for the grants for 4 separate homes, survival centers for women throughout the state. So she really helped not just Tampa, but the state of Florida in that way. But she was a kick in the pants. She was lots of fun and real salty. And
the first woman, I want to say, as a member of the NAACP.
Oh, yes.
Stood up for civil rights, and not just women's rights, but minority rights. One of her favorite bills that she was a part of is the potty bill that I kind of
potty parody.
Yes. So back in the day, there was just like one bathroom in the women's restroom.
That's right.
And men would constantly wait outside of the bathrooms for their wives. And anyway, so that was her. I remember her telling me that was her angle when she went to pitch the bill to get more restrooms or toilets, I guess, in the women's restroom. She pitched it as if it was a benefit to the men, so that they wouldn't have to wait on their wives as long. And it worked. She got it passed, and then was able to get more toilets placed in women's bathrooms. Who would have thought that back years ago there was a limit to how many toilets were available?
Well, she bought this beautiful old house, 305
Right.
Hyde Park, and she called and said, Susan, bring your friends and come on over. We need to get the house ready to receive the women. And so we all went over in our shorts and T-shirts and cleaned and scrubbed and the toilets and everything and painted and got that place ready, and that would have been about 1977, 78.
Yeah.
And then the women began to come, and there were thousands
Wow.
that have been through there.
Yeah.
So wonderful memory, and brought us together.
It did.
And that's special.
Thank you. No, I feel the same way. It's an amazing organization. We just celebrated the Waves of Change annual luncheon, awards luncheon that they just had there. I think that was the third year for the Waves of Change. And Waves of Change is just, there were hundreds of women there and men that showed up to celebrate.
700 something.
Susie Orman was one of the recipients of the award. And actually, if you check out the new issue of Edge Business Magazine, we have a 2-page spread on the event and some event photos. You can even check out our Facebook page for all of the event photos from our great photographer Keith Lindquist was there. And wow, what an amazing event. Patty Moses, which is an amazing woman in the community, was also awarded a leadership award. And it was great to hear her story. Did you do the introduction?
Yes, yes.
And they couldn't have chosen anyone better than to tell her story and the initial and to introduce her. So
It's great
you
fun.
did her amazing justice as you introduced her for that. But so again, these are different luncheons and opportunities that the center, I mean, just every year it seems to grow and things just come together, and not just by themselves. It's because of all of the volunteers and the help and all the community really coming together to really continue to see Helen's dream and passion push and persevere forward.
Amen.
Right, and really what an amazing...
Well, that event was great for me because I got to sit at the head table with Susie Orman and
Yes.
meet her and get to know her. And now she's talking to me about doing a new book that we would co-author called The Money Mind.
Oh my goodness, that's a
Where-
great opportunity. We're going to take a quick break and then I want to hear all about that. So great opportunity. You know, everything leads to something else. Don't go away. We'll be right back more with Susan Dellinger.
This is the Cannabis Podcast, powered by TrueLeaf on Radio Influence. It's an inside look and the scientific facts in and around the world of medical cannabis. Now, here is your host, Ian Beckles.
He's a successful entrepreneur, published author, top listing agent, a real estate and finance expert that goes to bat for you every day as a consumer advocate. Your host and the consumer quarterback, Brandon Rhymes.
Welcome back to Getting the Edge. I'm your host, Kelly Wilson. So happy you're joining us this evening. Really excited. Great show today with Dr. Susan Dellinger, really a great friend of mine, and really happy to have her here with us. The founder and an amazing creator of psychogeometrics. So we're going to, and a whole assessment line. A lot of people I hear often reference assessments. So we're going to talk and really understanding personality types. So we're going to talk a little bit about that in the show as well. But we're really talking about how we met and the Center for Women being such an amazing organization. Again, thecenter.org, in case you're interested in more details. We were talking about the ways of change and how Susie Orman was the award recipient for this most recent one. I want to say it was the end of March. So tell us, so you're planning, now let me just say, you are an accomplished author. You've written amazing mini books in 9 different languages, beyond just your geometrics, right? I mean, now you have a new one in the works with Susie Orman about money and women.
Yes,
so tell us a little bit about that and what that looks like and when we can expect something.
Well, I don't know about that. You know, we're in proposal and discussion stages, but I'm pretty sure it's going to happen. And what her idea was to take my psychogeometrics, which is a method of analyzing personal style, and combine it with her knowledge of financial management and look at how the different types
and how
of
they
people
line up together.
How the different types of people handle their money.
Gotcha.
So if you're a box, you handle it certain ways. If you're a circle, you handle it differently. You think of money differently. That's why it's called the money mind. So I would do the psychological part of it. And my system, Psychogeometrics, and this is the book, and there are assessments online and on hard copy that people take. When I work with corporations, they all take the assessment. And the online is on our website, psychogeometrics.com.
Okay.
And people get to choose their shape, get to decide by taking the assessment what their shape is. And you can either be a box or a rectangle or a triangle or a circle or a squiggly line. And they are all very different.
I remember a few years ago, probably 2014-ish, around that time, I did the assessment, and I probably should have looked back at my booklet because I don't remember exactly. I'll have to do it again and check it out. Tell me why, there are, and I tell us a little bit about assessments and what made you design your own method of assessing?
Because of doing corporate work.
Okay.
I mean, corporations want an assessment, the managers and the companies do. And I spent almost 10 years with GTE here locally.
Okay.
And ended up HRD manager, Human Resources Development Manager.
Okay.
And worked in their training. And this would have been mid-70s to 80s when I was there. And then I went independent and have my own company now. But they would be taking things like the Myers-Briggs and the DISC system.
Right, you hear about those often.
Yes, most corporations have bought in. I wish I had their marketing department.
Right.
So
well,
the managers didn't get it.
And you obviously saw a fault with those.
Yes,
and
the managers just didn't get it. It was too complex. They would forget they were an EKJ blah, blah, and what it meant, Instead, they would say, I had a problem with Harry to start with. I still have a problem with Harry.
Right,
and I don't know what to do about it. So what I did was just develop 5 geometric shapes and said, pick a shape. And it's all based on the original work in the 20s and 30s of Dr. Carl Jung. All of these systems, doesn't matter what it is, colors, animals, shapes. My shapes caught on because they're not judgmental. It doesn't give you a name like a feeler or an analytic.
Right.
There are no labels. I mean, you are such a classic triangle. You're a triangle squiggle. That's the entrepreneur.
That sounds
that combination.
Right.
Triangle squiggle is entrepreneur. The triangle is the person who gets it done and focuses on the goal. And the squiggle is the one with the idea that nobody else thought of.
Right.
Oh yeah,
Right.
that's what you are. And of course you need to hire lots of circles and boxes to work for you. The circle is the people person and gets along and friendly and how are you, sir, and hello, customer. And then the box stays in the office, gets all the numbers straight, does all the accounting, does all the books, gets that work done. And the rectangle is the person in transition, only 7%. So, but there's a whole book on it and assessments and
Well, and it's really interesting as an entrepreneur and as we build our businesses and I sit down and interview and talk with people at so many different levels of starting their career or being in the middle or then selling, all levels. But it's interesting, I think we come to learn at some point that we're good at what we're good at. And one of the questions I always ask when I'm interviewing is, should we spend time on fine-tuning our strengths or developing further our weaknesses? And I think it really goes back to really understanding what we're good at and kind of us focusing on that and then bringing in those other people into our lives that are good at what they're good at. But I think initially when we're young, maybe that's an age, maybe a wisdom kind of place we grow into that we just say, okay, this is how it is. I am who I am.
Right.
And I'm not going to change. I mean, I'm going to continue learning and growing, but ultimately my characteristics are my characteristics, and you just learn to accept them and embrace them and take them all in. And then you bring other great people around you.
Well, and what you're missing is what you need. Like let's say you were a triangle, but you're missing a squiggle. Well, then you need to go out and find a squiggle.
Right.
Because that's the creative component. And the problem is, in companies, most managers do the opposite. I'm a circle, so I like other circles.
Oh,
so when I'm interviewing, I want to hire that circle. She's like the rest of us, and we all get along. And that's wrong, because what we're missing is the box and the triangle and the squiggle and the people who bring a different skill set.
That's
because
so
for the
interesting.
team, we need them all.
For the team to actually work as efficient as we need it to, then we need all of these personalities represented. And if not, then you're only dealing with a partial plate.
That's right. We're all very friendly, but we haven't managed the money or done any advertisement.
Interesting. So well, again, so what is the website for that? So
psychogeometrics.com. It's plural. Psychogeometrics, one word, .com.
Now you speak all over the world and talk and educate people about.
I do.
So tell us about some of those experiences.
Oh wow! It always upsets me so much that there's such division in our world and so much hatred and golly, because I've spent, several weeks working in the Middle East and learning to love those people.
Right.
They don't dress like we do, and their beliefs.
Well, it's kind of like a triangle and circles, right?
Yes.
We have to appreciate what makes us different.
Amen.
Right?
And all over Europe, they're wonderful, wonderful, wonderful people. And then I have consultants in India, and I haven't been there. That's my bucket list item.
Is that right?
That I want to go to. So, and they're fabulous. And then Southeast Asia, my book is coming out in Vietnamese this year.
Oh my goodness, congratulations.
And just great fun.
So what are your plans? What's next? Like what's coming up soon, or where are you traveling?
Well, I
to
want to
next?
do India for
okay.
sure. And they've invited me. They're in Mumbai.
Okay.
So I would go there and I would probably speak. That's most typical. But the new project is the baseball project.
Now tell us a little bit about your grandfather, because I know your grandfather ties into the baseball book, the newest one. So tell us, who was your grandfather?
My grandfather was Ed Roush, and Ed Roush is in the Hall of Fame for baseball.
Okay.
Which is, I think less than 1% of all of the people who ever played baseball or managed teams. They're also managers and coaches, of course. And he is an old timer. So he played in the 19-teens and 1920s.
Oh my goodness.
100 years ago was the most famous World Series in the history of baseball, and he was the star.
Is that right?
And that's called the 1919 Black Sox series. And it's quite a story. It's a mystery with everything imaginable in it, even a murder. And
oh my goodness.
So we're working right now on a documentary. I don't know who will produce it. Maybe MLB is what they're thinking.
Major League Baseball.
Yes.
Okay. That took me a second. Yeah, that was easy.
Yeah, very
okay.
good. MLB TV. And it'll be called, the name of the book, Red Legs and Black Sox.
1919. Is that right?
Yes.
Now, so did they grow up? Were they in Indiana as well?
Yes, yes,
Okay,
yes.
okay.
Southern Indiana. And Granddad used to say he wanted to play baseball because he didn't want to go into those blankety-blank coal mines.
Oh, wow.
Which is where everyone else worked.
Is that
in
right?
Southern Indiana. Unless they were farmers. A lot of them were farmers.
Coal mine. I should probably know this. Is that still relevant in Indiana? There's not much coal mining in Indiana
No,
anymore.
I don't think much anymore.
Growing
but,
up there, I don't remember hearing too much about
yeah.
it. So now, so how old were you when he passed? Or
he gave me away at my wedding.
Oh, that's
Yes.
lovely. Okay, I wasn't sure.
And he was he was the oldest living Hall of Famer at the time, and he passed away in 1988 at age 94.
Oh my goodness.
So I had him a lot of years.
Yes, it sounds
was
like
great.
you did.
Yeah.
Now, I want to get into kind of your background and then what brought you to Florida. But what year did you come to the Tampa area or to Florida?
Well, long story, back and forth. We came first because my grandparents had a winter home in Bradenton.
Okay, and that's...
Which a lot of Midwesterners did.
Right.
And so we came to Tampa. We didn't want to be right next to them, and we came to Tampa. And I was on the first faculty at Leto High School in 1965.
Oh my goodness.
And I worked for a person named Frank Scaglione, who was the principal.
That Scaglione name
Has been in Tampa for a long, long time.
Well, we're going to find out much more about Susan and her academic background when we come back. We're going to take a quick break. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
This is the Cannabis Podcast, powered by TrueLeaf on Radio Influence. It's an inside look and the scientific facts in and around the world of medical cannabis. Now, here is your host, Ian Beckles.
He's a successful entrepreneur, published author, top listing agent, a real estate and finance expert that goes to bat for you every day as a consumer advocate. Your host and the consumer quarterback, Brandon Rhymes.
Welcome back to Getting the Edge. I'm your host, Kelly Wilson. Thank you so much for joining us today. Really excited about our new issue of Edge Business Magazine launching this week. You can check out the edgebusinessmagazine.com for additional details, or on our Facebook page at Edge Business, at Edge Business, I believe it is. Really excited about our show today. Dr. Susan Dellinger, which is a great friend of mine. If you've missed any part of the show, make sure you tune in and watch it from the beginning. We talked, goodness, Susan's just an absolutely amazing individual. We talked a little bit, and we're kind of getting into what brought you to Tampa, and I want to kind of talk about that as well. But before we go into that, again, Susan has written many books in 9 different languages. She is the founder of the Communicating Beyond Our Differences and her Geometrics, which is an assessment. What's the proper way to say that? Is it?
I call it a communication style assessment, not personality, because my Ph.D. is in communication,
Gotcha.
not psychology.
Okay.
So I am not equipped to or desirous of analyzing people's deepest personality flaws. I don't do that. I'm more interested in communication between people, because my belief has always been that's the #1 problem in companies is communication.
I think that's the #1 problem in our relationships, whether they're personal, relation, or business, right? I mean,
Yes,
it's communication.
I think
So if we realize how we communicate, I spent over a decade in real estate, and in real estate you deal with personalities that, and then especially initially. Later you can really choose who you want to work with and who you don't. But initially, and with so many of us, we're working with personalities that may not necessarily fit ours. If you understand the personality that you're dealing with, and you don't take things personally. A lot of times when people talk to us, it's not meant to be personal. They have their own frustrations, their own things, their own circumstances that they're going through. What they may say, can be really easily taken personal, but you have to keep in mind, most of the time it's not. And I think if we understand and take a minute to understand each other, instead of just focusing so much on ourselves, we can understand that we all think differently. The way, even like right now, the way you're analyzing the show and the way I am in my head, they're completely different patterns.
Probably.
So it's interesting. And I'm going to mess this up, but I love quotes. If you watched any of my shows, you know that. But I always mess them up, which maybe is kind of fun. But Albert Einstein had a quote that said, if a fish lives his whole life trying to climb a tree, he'll think he's stupid his whole life, or something like that. Because ultimately, a fish is not designed to climb a tree. A fish is designed to be in water. And once a fish knows that, it will be in the water and it will thrive and just be amazing and have this amazing, wonderful life. So the same thing goes for all of us, right? If we try to fit into a world or work in an environment that we don't fit in and we're not supposed to be there, we are going to continuously struggle until we find where we're supposed to be.
Amen.
And I think, I've heard about DISC assessments and different things, but really this really fits, and those were, I don't know, this just seemed to fit a lot better in with, and maybe it's because it's not necessarily personality, it's more communication and how we communicate and work together, which
it's all about teams.
Yeah, and even as entrepreneurs, we try to be solo, and a lot of times we have to wear multiple hats as we get things launched. But ultimately, then we know we need a team in order to really succeed in the areas that we want to succeed in.
And a team doesn't have to be big. You and I can be a team.
Correct, right.
Yeah, it's just how can we best work together? And fabulous in sales. People never forget their shape. They always remember what their shape is. And when you said we take it personally, that's the circle. The circle takes things personally. Oh, it's my fault. And they tend to blame themselves first, and they have to get over that. The triangle says it's not your fault because it's not my fault.
Right.
So it's a different personality style. In the training we do, we tell the circles, remember the Q-tip. Like a Q-tip that you would use. It stands for quit taking it personally.
Interesting.
Q-tip. Don't Q-tip, which is really cool.
Well, yeah, anytime, even with clients that I might be working with, Edge, we are a magazine. We publish our magazine. We have our show. We provide platforms to share stories. We have a full-service marketing and PR company, and we deal with clients all the time. And like I said, even back in dealing with real estate, you're not always going to work with people that you jive just with, like, and get along, and that energy is perfect. You are going to have, but everybody's dealing with things that they're dealing with. So my lesson for everyone today, my own to kind of remember as well, is don't take things personally, because most of the time they're not meant to be personal to us. It's interesting. So, you can be multiple shapes.
Oh,
you
are.
Don't have to, so you don't have to
Yes.
necessarily fit into one category, because that's difficult. And I remember when we met years ago doing the assessment, I thought, well, wait a minute, I fit a little bit of this and I'm a little bit of this, and I think that's okay too, instead of trying to fit in to any one particular area.
Well, there are 5 shapes. Okay, the box, triangle, rectangle, those are the linear shapes, left brain, and the circle and the squiggle. Okay, and everybody has all 5 within them. We each have all of it, okay? It's just what we happen to pull out at the moment. And I always say that's what leadership is about, choosing the right shape
At the
in
right
the
time.
right situation.
In order to lead and empower your team and your people versus not.
There are times to be a circle.
Yeah.
There are times you want to care.
Right. It's funny. So I just had flashbacks. My daughter and I love the Divergent series movies. Have you ever seen Divergent
I
at
don't
all?
think so.
Aw.
No.
Shailene Wooley, I think. No, is that her? I think. Anyway. Love it, but they're all in the books. I think they were originally. Their Divergent is all of the different people, and they separate society by the erudites, and I can't even remember now. And all
Well,
the different.
is that a book? What is
There were
that?
books. They were the movies were based off of books, but it's called the Divergent series. There were 3 movies, and I'm not sure how many books. Sorry for all the book lovers. I don't remember. Maybe there were only 3. Anyway, great series. But I'm trying to even think now of the different all the different sectors. But everybody had to stay.
I've
And
got
then
to go find that.
once they became of a certain age, they had to go through this testing to see in which. But you had those that catered and took care of everyone else. You had the brains. You had the people that had to be honest. But everybody kind of had their.
They used my work.
They did, and then the Divergent one was the one that didn't fit in. She was all of them combined, and they were scared of her because they couldn't control her because she was all of them. So
She
love
was
the
the
Divergent
leader.
series. Yeah, well, and as it goes on in the movies, yeah, she ended up kind of. That's why they were scared of her, because she wouldn't be kind of confined, and she believed there was more for everybody. So. Yeah, I love that. But it's interesting, and I wanted to kind of talk about that a little bit more because it's just something I think we can all learn from. And so, how can people do the assessment? How do they find out?
They just go right to the website,
Okay.
psychogeometrics.com.
Psychogeometrics.com.
And then there's an opening page. You go to the main page, and there's a little box that says "Take the test?"
Okay.
question mark.
Take the
You
test.
click on that. You go right in.
Great.
And I'll tell you what, I'm going to give you, of your audience that's observing today, I'm going to give you free test, okay? Just go right in there, click on it. It'll ask for you to register. You have to give your name, whatever, and email. We never contact you, but you do have to do that. And then in where it says, do you have a discount code, write the name of my son, Jade, J-A-D-E. And that will get you to the test free.
Perfect. Thank you
That's
for
a
that.
gift for
Thank
your
you.
audience.
Thank you. And I definitely recommend going and taking that assessment. It's really interesting. And then, do focus on, understand what you are and kind of where your personality fits. And most of us, again, depending on age, I think we kind of know. But this just really helps kind of bring things true to us. And then you can go, where is your book for sale? Can they go out of your website? and buy the
Amazon.
book, go to Amazon? Okay.
Yeah, that's the easiest.
Okay.
They can get it online too.
So yeah, you can check that out as well.
But the other thing to remember is whatever you come out in terms of your shapes, it's always good to talk with people who know you, because sometimes we are not perceived by others the way we perceive ourselves.
That makes sense
And that's
as well.
a whole nother conversation.
Interesting. You know, and I think sometimes too we're so hard on ourselves. Sometimes I wish we were a little maybe we saw what others did. Sometimes I think other people look at us in a better light maybe than we often do ourselves. Sometimes maybe you're thinking of that backwards, or I'm thinking of it backwards. But
Well, people often think I'm a triangle,
oh,
and
I
I'm
see
not.
what you mean.
I'm very much a circle squiggle.
So they're trying then to maybe have
Yes.
you work into different situations where that's not where you're going to thrive. You'll be that fish climbing the tree
Yeah,
forever,
that's
right? So that's really funny. And I'm sure I got that quote like completely wrong.
That's great. No, that's good. That's so true.
Interesting. Oh, so really excited. So once again, make sure you check out psychogeometrics.com,
Yes.
right? And then go to take the test, and you can put in Susan's son, Jade, and that way you can make sure you take the assessment. Really cool. Thank you for doing that.
You're welcome.
And that was another connection. You have a Jade, and I have a Jada, which there were so many similarities with us. And the
Yes.
more time that you and I have been able to spend together, the more that's kind of come to light. And it's so interesting. And again, I referenced Bob earlier in the show as her husband of 54 years, 55, what did we say?
Yeah,
It's just
54.
amazing.
Jade was born in Tokyo.
Oh, that's
So he was, because we were in overseas teaching, so he was our gem from the Orient.
absolutely. You know, and it's interesting, and I want to talk a little bit about a little bit more about that. But we have talked, and you've shared a lot of things with me, and even how Bob, and really early on in his career in the late 60s and 70s, being the female, you had to really follow him and where his career was going to take you. And I know as a strong personality and just a strong woman I mean, I can only imagine.
I let him choose where I would work, actually, because I had offers at University of Washington, University of Oregon, and University of Wisconsin when I finished my doctorate at University of Colorado. And so I let him choose where I would go.
Well, we're going to talk a little bit more about Bob's choosing when we come back. Stay tuned. We'll be right back more with Susan Dellinger.
This is the Cannabis Podcast, powered by TrueLeave on Radio Influence. It's an inside look and the scientific facts in and around the world of medical cannabis. Now, here is your host, Ian Beckles.
He's a successful entrepreneur, published author, top listing agent, a real estate and finance expert that goes to bat for you every day as a consumer advocate. Your host and the consumer quarterback, Brandon Rhymes.
Welcome back to Getting the Edge. I'm your host, Kelly Wilson. Thank you so much for being with us today. I really enjoyed the show today with Dr. Susan Dellinger, one of my favorite people, and I'm really happy that you're here with me today. I look forward to having you on. We thank you again for sharing the assessment code with us. Look forward to that educating everyone, and hopefully that'll be helpful to you. You have just you're just an amazing individual. You've gone through. You've really been an inspiration to me. You know, I have those role models in my life that inspire me, and really, you know, you've been one of them. You're very mom-like to me, and it's been
that's so sweet.
amazing having you in my life.
Helen was that way for me.
And Helen Gordon Davis, who we mentioned briefly, with the founder of the Center for Women, which is what brought us together originally. So no, it's just we played cards together. We've stayed up until I can't hang with this woman. She kept me up till about 1 o'clock in the morning playing cards.
And Cards, my new book.
So you teach bridge on a regular basis. Now, I don't know bridge, and so maybe someday I'll sit down.
I've got to teach you bridge. You'd be great.
They make it seem very complex. I mean, you've got a whole book and a system, and
well, this is just a little special
that looks
book,
fun.
Like for a gift, really, more than anything. It's not. So many bridge books are these huge textbooks that are so
some of the books that I've seen that you have are these huge, intimidating. Woo! Right.
Yeah,
well, you sit down with her.
This one is just small and cute, and
that looks fun. It looks fun. Yeah.
And I want to focus on women your age, on younger women, getting younger women to play, because they haven't
actually
played.
That's really cute. I'd love to take a look at that. So you, Susan teaches bridge. Now, how can people get
This came out 4 days ago.
Did it? Well, congratulations. Yes. I love it. It's cute.
It's not your mother's bridge game. Yeah.
Okay, so for those that are watching that are interested in publishing books and getting involved, what is that process like for you? So
that's changed massively. I mean, you have to be on Amazon. I'm on Amazon with all my books. And that's the way people are buying books now. Very few people are going to Barnes & Nobles and really, sitting there. Yeah. And that's changed. I mean, I walked in years ago with my first book. I don't even have it here, Communicating Effectively for Managers. Barnes & Nobles did a book signing for me. Oh. Right here on Dale Mabry. And, they dedicated a part of the store, and I spoke on my book, and these people came, and I signed the books for them, etc. Not today. Today, I was told, you have to go through the corporate office. Of course, they don't know who you are.
Right.
And they apparently could care less about local authors. And that was very upsetting.
Interesting.
It used to be Inkwood would be the one that would do that for us. It was so sweet. And
now
I did my baseball book at Inkwood.
Okay. Now, they're still around, aren't they? Didn't they just move locations, I thought?
Maybe they did.
Okay. Inkwood Books was a small bookstore that used to be on Armenia and Platt, right on the corner.
And it featured local authors.
Yeah. We actually did an Edge event there, 2015, 14, in the very early days. In fact, I think, we originally launched the South Tampa Business Alliance in late 2013. We were actually still South Tampa Business Alliance. But what a great, small business. And yeah, they were very local.
Haslam's did that in St. Pete for years.
Interesting.
So, we're losing those small, like Payless shoes and even the large ones.
Right.
People are going online.
Well, Amazon has definitely changed the entire way, the whole e-commerce industry and the way all of that works. So, it's
print media.
Right.
I like to hold a magazine.
Yeah.
I want to hold that magazine and look at it and not look at a screen.
And I think many other people do as well. And that's one of the reasons, we have a digital version for those that want to read digital, but we also still print. And that's even with books. I have a great friend of mine has a Kindle that she still loves and has, and reads books, I mean, just on a daily basis, new ones. But I could never read a book on that. I couldn't. I have to hold it. I want to see how far I've gotten. I want to know. Now, I will say during the last Hurricane Irma, I think that we experienced, because we weren't going to have, I didn't have time to really get out and go. I downloaded books. In fact, I read Howard Schultz, the Starbucks CEO book, a couple different books, but I downloaded them on my iPad.
Yeah.
And that's the only time I have read books. And I tell you, I could only read, I would get headaches. I do get headaches. So I could only read so often I have to stop. But I would much rather know that I accomplished it. I want to see it on a shelf. I want to know I read it, and I want to. That's the same thing with DVDs. Well, anyway, we won't get into that.
And I have to do business reading, so I have to mark up a book very often, which you can't do on Kindle.
Well, even creating, I'm really excited about our new magazine launch that we have this week. And even when they send me a digital version, the designers, as I'm putting it together, but I have to print it out. And in fact, I shuffle pages
just
around.
to see it and
just
analyze
to see it. Yeah.
Sure.
Because I can't do that from a digital. I can't
No.
see it. I need to. That's why I said I kind of create this thing, to where I can go through. And I have pages all over my floor. And then I shuffle them and move them so I can see what goes best with what. But otherwise, how do you know that? You wouldn't.
Well,
so,
I guess if we were super wealthy, we'd have a whole wall of screen. And we'd just move the pages
but
on
I
the
want to say
screen.
I would still want to hold it.
Yeah, I would too.
There's still
I
I
would
still
too.
can't see it way up there on a screen. I
No.
need it. I want anyway.
Yeah.
But maybe that's an age thing too, as we're accustomed to having things a certain way. But maybe not, because I have other friends that are my age that have adjusted fine with digital. In fact, everything they have is in their phones or anyway. That we could talk for hours
It
just
seems
about
to
how things.
disappear, and then it's gone. And
So
Can't
I want to
hold
get
it.
into some, again, I've learned so much from you, and every time I sit down with you, I do.
Thank you.
Oh, I thank you for being here. Thank you for being my friend and playing cards with me and just everything that you do. I appreciate it.
Aw.
And I just wish we had the whole day to kind of talk about your story and just Bob and kind of their beginning days and how you just became friends with Helen, just all the steps that have kind of brought you to where you are today in your life. But if you could go back, let's say 30, 40 years, 35, 40, and give your younger self advice, what would that advice be?
Well, I like to use humor when I speak. So one of the things that I learned the hard way is you don't mix booze and biz.
That's funny. It just made me think too. Susan was featured Edge Profiles. Each issue of the magazine, we choose 3 amazing individuals that we feature and ask those individuals the same 21 questions. So you can check out our New Year issue of Edge, and that has Susan's feature in it with her 21 questions. But that's a great. So don't mix booze and business.
Yep.
Great. So
Yep.
great advice.
Yep. That's very
Maybe
hard.
what has been maybe the toughest, hardest lesson to learn? Something maybe.
I think to be myself. I think what you said so much earlier is so true. We, particularly in a company, we see those, we watch, and we see those who are successful. And we think, oh, I need to be more like that. Yes, that's what I need to do. And we try to take on a persona that isn't ourselves.
Right.
And part of the success of Donald Trump, for heaven's sake, is that he is who he is, period. And if you don't like it, tough.
Right.
And we need to be more of that because everyone else kind of looks like carbon copy things.
Right.
And, oh, I need to say this and I need to do this. Oh, come on, be yourself.
Right.
And an audience knows if you're genuine or not.
Right. No.
They know.
I believe that very much. It's interesting, and I think a lot of people, and it's some people that you get around, they morph into those people. Have you noticed? Like
Yes.
sometimes, like
Well, women become men, thinking that's the only way they can climb the corporate ladder.
Yeah. Interesting. Well, no, and I think it comes to a point too where we have to be comfortable in our own skin and comfortable with who we are.
And know who we are.
Right.
Yes.
And that all takes time, I guess.
Yeah, I
You know,
think so.
sometimes I feel like I've gotten to a point where I am in my life, maybe because I've taken the time to be alone and kind of on my own and really get to know me, where I'm going, what I'm doing, and why I'm doing what I'm doing. Not that I still understand, not that I have like a complete understanding of any of that yet, but it's, I don't know that we all take that time to do that. So sometimes as I feel like other people have the same conclusions and awareness that I do, I realize as I talk to people, a lot of times they don't because they they haven't taken that time for that personal growth.
Well, and so much of who we think we are is often based on the feedback we've gotten from other people. You know, mothers saying, "Oh, you're not real quick, Alice, but you're a very nice girl, and well, she's not really pretty, but she has such a nice personality," and little messages that children and young people get that kind of forms, oh, this is who I am.
Well, and I don't think we realize how much those form us. And that's, I think, one of the reasons I'm on the journey I am is because my mother told me not to dream. And growing up, in fact, one of her favorite lines to me was, "Kelly, get your head out of the clouds."
I remember you told me that.
And it has really put me on the
Yes.
mission of making sure that people do believe in their dreams and that they do continue and they do dream. In fact, it almost makes me angry when I hear somebody discouraging someone from dreaming, because who am I to say you can't accomplish what you want to accomplish? Of course you can. You know, if you have the strength and determination to do it, yeah, you can do it.
And I'm glad you said that, because one of the things I'm feeling as I'm aging and seeing in my colleagues is we stop dreaming. I even have had several people say, "Well, I don't have a bucket list anymore."
Oh my goodness, what happens when you stop dreaming?
Yeah.
What's left at that point?
Yeah.
And that is, in fact, I think we all have a period in our life that changes us, and 2012 was mine. Through a lot of different things. My mom was diagnosed with lymphoma. Oh my goodness, one thing after another happened. And I think I went through a very small, like a few month period where I was so discouraged and upset and depressed, I guess I would say, that I wasn't dreaming. And then I finally came out of that, and I realized even from that small experience that that is no way to live. Like, I always want to dream and be encouraged and want to encourage others. So I hope that's a message too that we can send today, that
gives you the edge.
Yes, and the permission to dream at any age, and really, and know that no matter what, there is no age limits. You can still achieve and do anything that you set your mind to do, and that's a part of it as well. I mean, things aren't just going to fall into your lap and happen. You've got to make the waves and create. You got to pivot and change and adapt to where you need to, but ultimately,
you got to be in the room where it happens.
Yeah.
Hamilton.
Well, and there you go. And put yourself out there and decide to do something today, and that takes you there. So, oh man, it's so amazing having you on part of the show. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Make sure you check out
Psychogeometric.
There you go. .com. Go to the assessment, take it. Thank you so much for being here. Check out Getting the Edge every Thursday night. We'll see you soon. Thank you.
Bye.